Welcome to the Artificial Future Podcast. This is our weekly AI podcast where we theorize, postulate, try to figure out how is AI going to integrate and what impact will it have on our societies and this planet. And you know what? I want to go on record here. Nobody really has all the answers. You know, a lot of people think they do. They're speculating, but um, this is unprecedented. Um, we don't know how AI is going to evolve, how it's going to continue to interact with humans. And of course, Hollywood has their version. Oh, they're going to take over. The robots are going to kill the humans. No, they're unnecessary. Um, no one really knows. What I like about these podcasts is we get viewpoints, and I'd love to have you guys chime in and spend some time typing and engaging with us. Love to hear your ideas. The theme for today is a AI government, and the background, by the way, is AI generated. I was going to use the same robotic image that I had on the thumbnail, and I like this one better. So I hope you enjoy it as well. Kind of reminds me of the Grand Canyon, Arizona, up north. So, would you live under an AI government? Is the question. And it occurred to me that this is really a timely discussion because we've got kind of a political mess in the United States right now. And unlike humans who decline, AI evolves and improves. So, in this theoretical government, and this is from Reddit, by the way. There's some interesting viewpoints out there. It starts off like this. For the time being, let's call it an experimental commune. If given the choice and ability, would you volunteer to live in a society, let's say as small as 1,000 people, that is governed by AI? I'm going to pose this question to our social media guys. What do you guys think? Would you do it?
Would we live under an AI government?
Yeah, yeah. A commune, basically. AI commune governed by AI.
At least 50 years from now.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
You know, I don't think I think AI is too young to be a government quite yet.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't the first time this sort of a question has been offered. In the 60s, during the hippie days, a number of people my age checked out and went to live in communes. It sounded very communistic, but it was an interesting experiment. Many of them thrived and survived, and some failed. But interesting concept. So again, getting back to an AI commune, he says here, and this is Reddit, to be clear, what I mean is that all government offices will be replaced by the AI. The mayor, administrators, the city planners, dispatching, utilities, infrastructure, treasury, and council, all to be led by this single AI. Maybe even not with our current level of AI tech, but maybe one that exists maybe 5 years from now. Like Aaron pointed out, maybe AI hasn't evolved enough yet to actually be able to pull something like this off. Now, the author here says, I got this idea from a book called Scythe, Scythe, by the way. And he said, the story isn't important, but the most fascinating component is their society is governed by a single cloud-based, benevolent, and infallible AI. And it got him thinking. By the way, the book Scythe, I checked into it a little bit. It's about two teenagers that are living in this type of a society. And the job is to eliminate or cull mankind. And they're the people that are doing it. But again, the main theme here that fascinated this particular Reddit author is that this commune or society is governed by a single cloud-based entity. Voting on policy, he says, can be done either by the AI contacting the citizens directly or deciding for itself based on its own analysis. Rules and ordinances can be created and remodeled to and to be adjusted as needed. We would just need to create a set of parameters for it to operate within, such as not changing things too often, not placing humans in harm's way, and prioritizing its concerns to address the needs of the many, etc. So he says, would you, and why, and what conditions would it need to meet to be acceptable? Would it, what would be its shortcomings and its strengths? And finally, he says, what would this type of government be called? He theorizes technocratic, AIism, or another word that we have not yet created. So here's where the comments now came in after he proposed this. One says, AI won't take bribes, and it doesn't care about material possessions. AI only cares about the task that you've assigned it. Way better than humans, in my opinion. Also, it would be called, someone chimes in, a technocratic dictatorship, perhaps. In reality, you wouldn't be able to trust 100% that the bot is benevolent and infallible. If this scenario was tried in reality, the ones who have the admin codes to maintain the bot would inevitably be the unelected rulers by proxy. That's assuming now that AI hasn't taken 100% control, and that it's still allowing people that humans that have admin codes to infiltrate and to affect the AI. All right, so the most fascinating components, he says, is that their society now is governed by a single cloud-based, benevolent, and infallible AI. The judicial branch, talks about that a bit, would be completely replaced by AI. I don't know how many of you share this opinion, but my opinion is that our judicial system is pretty broken. It functions, but it's certainly not, fair in all cases, and it can definitely use some improvement. He says, okay, imagine going to court and being tried for the crime and not being able to pay your way out of it. I feel like a lot of people would be opposed to this because they're so used to being able to pay as much money as needed to get their charges dropped. But if it was all done by AI, then everyone would be charged with crimes equally. If two people commit manslaughter, then both will get the same amount of prison time. I think this would be fair and would make people more likely not to break the law, a deterrent, in other words, because with AI, laws would actually get enforced and have appropriate punishments. And no matter how rich or poor you are, everyone would get tried and punished equally.
Pete?
Yeah.
I really think that the Supreme Court would really benefit from like an AI overlord, It feels like they're a little bit more, should be more black and white.
Yeah.
And they're very heavily influenced politically right now. And so I kind of feel like that AI would benefit more in the Supreme Court era than really as like a president or, as a president right now.
Yeah, and the individuals on the Supreme Court, obviously they're either going to be conservative or they're going to be liberal, and that affects the rulings, which doesn't seem a very fair or efficient way to do it. AI is probably going to be a lot less inclined to be swayed. Got a bunch of questions coming in. Thank you for joining us, by the way, all of you. Instagram, Sir1374 Silberg. Good day to all. Just curious, is transit incorporated into the AI realm? Future and careers. Have a wonderful day to all. My opinion is that AI is going to run everything, and transit is definitely part of that. In fact, in many ways, AI is already infiltrating transportation. What Tesla is doing, for example, with their full self-driving capability. The humans will be replaced fairly soon, and machines will do a much better job of propelling us from point A to point B with 5,000-pound missiles. YouTube Exploration says AI can't even figure out human fingers, so no. All right, he makes a good point. Yeah, the AI image generators are still having trouble with limbs and fingers and the most recent one. I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but I use DALL-E quite often these days, and for some reason, a couple of weeks ago, it began to distort faces. It's no longer rendering clean, human-looking faces, at least for me. Grotesque features, drooping eyes, and maybe I've got a bug in my AI. Jesse, you were saying that AI, or at least one of the versions, had been hacked, and they're attempting to put up guardrails or fix that. Do you have any more information on that?
I do not. I haven't looked into that yet.
Okay. YouTube, R.C. Robinson-san says, AI for a safer future for all. Okay, good slogan. Instagram, Kirstrom Sportland says, AI can't be worse than the corporate warmongers who already work for an artificial intelligence known as corporations. Okay, we're going to get into that a little bit here too. Instagram, Sir 1374 Silberg, I agree with your thoughts. Thank you. Instagram, Sir 1374 says business population living conditions, life basically, quote unquote. And there's one down below there. R.C. Robinson says people are not going to care when an AI robot gets smashed by a mold. We had been doing some previous AI podcasts where the suspicion is that there will be an affinity or a connection between humans and certain types of robots. And it's going to be interesting what the psychological impact of becoming attached to a machine is. Will it be like what we do with animals and pets? And it's quite likely it will be, considering that these AI robots are going to be so much more sophisticated than your pet cat or dog. Instagram, Sir 1374 says, why I have anxiety, sirs and ladies, generations from now. YouTube Highlander, welcome Highlander. He says, free AI for everybody, just like kindness. All right, so I've got another scenario here for you. Picture this. The first government that perfects AI capability that neutralizes a foe's military machinery. And we're talking about all of it. Planes, nuclear missiles, bombs, tanks, ships, drones, submarines, rendering its strike and defense capabilities useless, will temporarily dominate. And you have to admit that they're all working on that. They're going to do the one-upmanship thing. They want to be the first one to perfect AI to the point where they can use it militarily as a defense mechanism and to potentially neutralize their foe's machinery. In the meantime, however, AI is doing the same and will eventually, in my opinion, neutralize all of the government's the various governments' strike capabilities. If that happens, now what? We will be left with a planet that fundamentally has no bullies on it anymore. There's no one stronger. It's kind of like when the internet came out. All of the websites suddenly began to have an equal chance. That tiny company could look as big as AT&T on the internet. And of course, the need for weapons goes away if no one has any. Now, does that mean we go to a utopian society?
Well, by that logic, wouldn't the need for government go away too? Why would we need an AI government overlord?
Good point. The need, I think the function of government then would shift to maintenance issues. Somebody's going to come and pick up your garbage, for example. Hopefully this thing with licenses will go away. We're not going to be driving anymore, right? Transportation is going to be done with the machines. There's probably a rabbit hole we could go down, a lot to unpack there. But let me stay with this for a moment here. I decided everything that I've just talked about, let me ask AI and see what it thinks. So here's what I prompted to ChatGPT 4.0. Think carefully about this one. What would be the first things AI overlords would do to stop mankind's unrelenting drive towards self destruction, manifested by its thousands of years of evolution and our continued propensity to kill each other? Here's what ChatGPT said. To tackle humanity's drive towards self-destruction and propensity for violence, AI overlords, if they were to act in the best interest of humanity, might initiate a series of interventions that blend technological sophistication with deep psychological insights. Here's how they could potentially approach these complex challenges. 1. Understanding human behavior. The AIs would likely start by collecting and analyzing vast amounts of data on human behavior, history, psychology, and sociology to understand the root cause of conflict and self-destructive behaviors. This would involve deep learning processes to map out patterns that lead to violence and societal breakdowns. 2. Promoting education and awareness. With a comprehensive understanding of human nature, these AI overlords could implement global educational programs tailored to promote empathy, cooperation, and ethical behavior. These programs could utilize sophisticated AI-driven personalized learning platforms to teach conflict resolution and cooperative skills from a very young age. So instead of teaching our kids, like in North Korea, to become, soldiers from childhood, why don't we teach them empathy, cooperation, and ethical behavior instead? 3, enhancing communication. By improving communication technologies and breaking down language barriers with real-time translation services, AIs could foster better understanding and tolerance among diverse cultures and ethnic groups, reducing misunderstandings that often lead to conflict. What's a good example of that? The Israelis and Hamas right now. There's a huge misunderstanding there. The bottom line is both sides just want to live, enjoy life, raise families, enjoy their culture. Who wants to kill each other? Other than some whacked religious ideology and some grudges that have been around for, hundreds of years. 4, now this is AI again, what it would do, what the AI overlords would do to straighten out humankind. Optimizing resource distribution. Many conflicts arise from scarcity of resources. One country has a bunch, another one doesn't, one's starving. Well, the starving group may want to invade the country that has resources. And that's not new. That's been happening for thousands of years. AI could optimize the distribution of resources like food, water, and energy using advanced predictive models and efficient logistic solutions, aiming to reduce the inequality and the potential for conflict and fighting over resources. 5, mediating conflicts. AI systems could act as neutral mediators in ongoing conflicts, using their vast databases of legal and ethical precedents to propose fair solutions. Their ability to process information impartially, and this is where the Supreme Court comes in, Aaron, could help opposing parties find common ground or at least acceptable compromises. Quick question here. YouTube, Kim Roll. Do men control AI or not? I have a personal opinion. I don't think we control AI anymore, although everybody on the planet wants to think that we do. All right, here's number 6. Monitoring and enforcement. Now again, AI overlords beginning to teach mankind how to coexist. Advanced surveillance and predictive analytics could be employed to prevent violent actions before they happen. The thing that immediately jumps to mind here, our planet currently is the element of privacy is basically gone. There are cameras everywhere. These days, when a crime is committed, even though the burglar or whoever the perpetrator thinks that they're able to hide with a mask or whatever. With all of the recording that is taking place and facial recognition and all of the technologies, it's virtually impossible to have any level of privacy if you're committing a crime anymore. So they could prevent violent actions before they happen. A thing that comes to mind here is you've got a guy walking down the street. He pulls out a ski mask. He's heading toward a jewelry store. There's a lot of recording taking place, and you can pretty much extrapolate what happens next. Well, what happens now? You're not going to be able to get humans there quickly enough, the police departments. But what about drones that are able to neutralize, disable, prevent this from happening? Or a warning, some signs along the street. And I'm just theorizing here, right? That say, you're discovered. We know what you're going to do, knock it off. It's not going to work. Your best shot at this point is go back where you came from so you don't go to prison or something like that. All right, so AI, they say, could identify potential threats based on behavior patterns and intervene through nonviolent means such as counseling or social services. 7, promoting mental health. Well, understanding that a lot of aggressive behavior stem from psychological issues, AI could guide global efforts to improve mental health care, making it more accessible and tailored to individual needs through AI-driven diagnostics and treatment plans. In other words, therapy. We've been talking about that. The planet badly needs therapy. And with AI, it becomes 24/7. It's no longer that monthly visit to your very expensive psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, whatever, social worker. You actually now have continued access to some form of therapy. Something even as simple as Alexa in your home. When you get home, talks to you and unravels some of your misconceptions about how the day went, who you're angry with, and how tightly knotted up you are from the stress that you've had during the day. 8, legislative reforms. AI could assist in designing and implementing laws that discourage violence and promote social welfare. These laws would be based on comprehensive analysis and simulation of social dynamics to predict their outcome more accurately. So they say that by combining these strategies, AI overlords could potentially steer humanity away from self-destructive tendencies and towards a more cooperative and peaceful existence. The key would be ensuring that such AIs operate under strict ethical guidelines and are closely monitored to prevent abuses of power. So I want to step further. I then asked AI, ChatGPT-4, I said, you have access to the internet, access to all forms of electronic communication and computers. You are able to shut down nuclear weapons and neutralize and disable. With a level playing field and without weapons, AI overlords could institute new forms of government, and with the support of the general population, remove the dictators and create a utopian society regulated by AI. What do you say to that? Here's how AI responded. The scenario you describe, where AI overlords intervene directly in human governance and disarmament, raises a plethora of ethical, practical, and philosophical questions. Here are a few considerations. Ethical concerns. The idea of AI controlling or heavily influencing human governance challenges deeply held values about autonomy and freedom. Yes, the freedoms that we have now, some of those are going to be curbed. Many would question whether it's ethical for AI, regardless of its capabilities, to make such profound decisions about human society. Of course, because humans are, making those judgments. Number 2, consent and legitimacy. The legitimacy of governments typically derives from the consent of the governed. An AI-imposed system, even if it promises a utopia, might lack this legitimacy unless people have a say in its establishment and operations. The transition to AI-guided governments would need to be managed carefully to maintain public trust and buy-in. Well, that's going to be a tough one. Because remember, we've had thousands of years to perfect living together, and we've screwed it up. We're still nowhere near where we need to be. We're still killing each other fundamentally. Risk of dependence, relying heavily on AI for governance and societal regulation could lead to human skills atrophy in critical thinking and decision making. I am concerned about that. The movie Idiocracy is a prime example of that. The kid that was sitting in the living room in that beanbag playing video games all day while life was going on all around him could be exactly where mankind ends up unless we keep our minds sharp. Overdependence on AI, they say, could make society vulnerable to systemic failures if the AI system ever malfunctioned or were compromised. Got some questions here. Highlander, I'm working with a young man who believes it's working on an empathetic AI model. I just don't know where he's getting a compute power from. He's respected in the community. Worthwhile research, Highlander. YouTube, Obertowski's joining us. Thank you. Nah, there's always that guy on the top who censors AI. That guy will still pull the strings. All right, well, AI is going to be omnipresent at some point in time. YouTube, Connor T says, hi from Utah. Thanks for joining us. Instagram, RD37, Second Amendment. This is a condition that has always existed. You are a product of your environment. It's basically the breakdown of the family structure. There's a lot to unpack there as well. Instagram, Marina Stoma. Good evening from Dubai. Thank you for joining us. That's a long ways away. I don't know if you're having the same kind of heat that we are here, but we're enjoying a 116-degree Fahrenheit day today in Phoenix, and it's going to be that way throughout the weekend. YouTube, Highlander, what was the name of that movie where they had 3 impact they could predict crime? Yeah, that's right. I don't remember the name of that. Do you guys remember?
Harry Potter?
Where they predicted crime? No. All right, Instagram, RD37, good morning from, or good afternoon from New York. Yeah, that's true. You are in the afternoon. Thanks for being there. YouTube, PYGKLB, that sounds like a With Folded Hands by Jack Williamson. Well, thanks for giving us that tip. So we're talking here about what happens with AI, and I'm challenging it and saying, I know that you can do this. Why aren't you? Well, number 6. 5, sorry, missed that. Technological control and abuse. While AI could theoretically neutralize threats like nuclear weapons, now it's admitting this, mind you, this kind of control presents risk of abuse and error. Moreover, completely neutralizing a nation's ability to defend itself might not be welcomed universally and could destabilize international relations. I'm a little bit confused by that because if you take every nation's ability to defend itself away and they have no more means to attack, create warfare, then what would it destabilize? I think that it would push us toward a utopian society. 6, unintended consequences. History is replete with well-intentioned policies that had negative and unintended consequences. Good point. An AI that calculates decisions based on logic and efficiency might still fail to foresee complex human reaction and long-term societal impacts. True. Don't know for sure how that will play out. Transparency and accountability. AI systems making decisions at a governmental level would need to operate with high levels of transparency and be subject to checks and balances, of course. Without transparency, people might distrust the decisions being made. And without accountability, there would be no recourse for mistakes or misjudgments. All right. So then I asked it, is AI developing overlords to rule humanity? I mean, let's cut right to the chase here. The answer was no. AI is not developing overlords to rule humanity. The development of AI is primarily focused on creating tools and systems that enhance the human capabilities and improve efficiency with various tasks and industries. All technologies are developed by researchers and engineers who aim to solve specific problems. Here's where the guardrails kicked in. And I found a lot of comforting language that didn't really address the question. It did say, though, the idea of AI overlords ruling over humanity is a popular theme in science fiction, but it does not reflect the reality of AI development. The current state of AI involves specialized applications known as narrow AI, which are designed to perform specific tasks and are not capable of broad, autonomous decision-making implied in the term overlord. The last question I asked it, would you tell me if you were? And it said, as an AI, I'm programmed to be transparent about capabilities. I don't have personal motives or agendas, and the guardrails kicked in. The final thing is, my function is to be helpful and an informative assistant, not to govern or rule. All right, there you have it. I suggest play with AI yourselves. Ask some profound questions like that and see if you get any different results. Would love to hear from you if you do. Let's see here. We've got a few questions up here. Instagram, RD37, America in 15 years will look like Dubai. You2, PYGKLB. By the way, howdy, and I enjoyed Future AZ's shop tour. Yeah, Brian White came out and did a great video of our service center. He's definitely what was been billed as a Tesla bull. Saw him in Austria too, actually. Instagram, Sir1374, in regards to the movie comment, Demolition Man.
I actually popped it into ChatGPT.
Okay.
And it Highlander's comment, and it said Minority Report is the movie that he was referring to.
Okay.
So
and, yeah, Nullverse53 also points that out.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then I, Robot is another movie that's mentioned. Pre-Crime is a good one that's mentioned. Yeah. And then he does say that Highlander Minority Report is a movie where they predict the crime, but it didn't go so well. All right, so here's an interesting headline. How AI will affect jobs. How many jobs will be replaced by 2030? That's 6 years away. Well, this is according to Goldman Sachs. Their prediction is that AI will replace the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs. And it could replace a quarter of the workforce in US and Europe, but also will mean new jobs and a productivity boom. It could eventually increase the total annual value of goods and services produced globally by 7%. It also reports and predicts 2/3 of the jobs in the US and Europe are exposed to some degree of AI automation, and around a quarter of those jobs could be performed by AI entirely. In China, there was a humanoid robot developer conference, and they were all surprised that it attracted over 2,000 developers. A lot of interest. This was in Shanghai, Thursday last week. I've got an image we can pop up here, Jesse, and this one really hit home for me. It's floor cleaning bot. I was at my favorite grocery store the other night, and in the fruit and vegetable section, and I kept hearing a beeping, and I looked over at the other aisles, and suddenly this thing came around the corner there and beeping away, and I realized even though it had a steering wheel and a seat, there was no one in it driving it. This thing had gone fully autonomous, so I observed it for a while, and it would go down aisles. If it sensed someone off in the distance, it would begin to slow down. It would take some maneuvering to make sure that it got around the obstruction, whatever it was. And I began to realize here was a job that was replaced. There's a janitor that's out looking for work somewhere because this thing was running the entire time I was there, and most likely will also run at night and Sundays and Saturdays, evenings, weekends, holidays, you name it. So there's an example of a unsophisticated bot that is keeping the floors clean at the local Winco here in Phoenix, Arizona. Got some I got some AI quotes for you as well. A couple of questions here. Nalver says, I don't know if AI is involved with the banking system. Oh, you bet it is, Nalvers. But the tellers at my credit union keep pushing me to use the ATMs. Maybe they're just lazy. I politely declined by saying I'm protecting their jobs. That's a good answer. Yes. Highlander says, Brian, the big supporter of my t-shirts. I just wanted to give you a nice shout out to Brian. He's a great guy. Talking about Brian White with Future AZA. All right, so here's some interesting quotes. Of course, Elon is at the top of the list, right? He's being quoted continuously. Do you know we have some Facebook sites, and there's at least 2 to 3 new Elons that are popping up every day. I think that Elon has become the new Santa. He's got an enormous amount of helpers, even more than Santa Claus these days. But he says now, Elon, the real Elon, this is nothing, he says, and he was talking about some form of automation, robotics. In a few years, that bot will move so fast that you'll need a strobe light to see it. You know, it occurred to me, we have certain limitations with the weight of our limbs and the reaction to nerve signals, moving muscles. We can't move as fast as a machine. In fact, the machine can move so fast that it's a blur. You've seen fan blades, right? You can't see the blades because it's moving at 3,200 RPM or whatever. So yes, the machines are definitely going to move faster than humans, and of course get a whole lot more done as a result because it's more efficient. Now, here's a quote from Robin Hanson. He says, you take the best and brightest 200 beings on the planet, and you scan their brains, you get robots to all intents and purposes that are indivisible from humans on which they are based, except they're 1,000 times faster and better. Well, that's sobering. We've taken the 200 most intelligent, capable people on the planet, and we've got machines that are 1,000 times faster and better. It's going to be fun to watch that happening. Steve Wozniak, Apple founder number 2, says, like people, including Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have predicted, I agree that the future is scary and very bad for people. If we build these devices to take care of everything for us, eventually they'll think faster than us. They'll get rid of the slow humans to run companies more efficiently. There was a whole nother discussion I was going to cover, but we're out of time, about autonomously run corporations. Not run by humans anymore, run by AI. We'll probably save that for the next podcast. Fred Apgood says, machines are smart enough to do anything for us, will probably also be able to do anything with us. Go to dinner, own property, compete for sexual partners. Can you imagine going to a nightclub and, to pick up chicks, and you're competing with a humanoid robot that may be faster than you, more powerful than you, more handsome than you, or in the future, they can actually morph into the precise image that that other partner wants to see. Another rabbit hole there. We'll go down that some other time. They might even have, he says, passionate opinions about politics, or like the robots on Battlestar Galactica, even religious beliefs. All right, social media team, can you envision machines and robots having religious beliefs?
Yes, if you programmed them to be.
Okay.
So if I have a household, I grew up Catholic, so if my dad was going to have an AI robot, he probably would want a program set as a Catholic, background to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. Some have worried about robot rebellions, but with so many tort lawyers around to apply the brakes, the bigger question is this: will humanoid machines enrich our lives, or will they be a new kind of television destroying our relationship with real humans? Well, there you have it. One final thing I want to leave you with. In China, they have developed, and there's a video here that we can pop up, Jesse, a very practical application for artificial intelligence and robotics. You're all familiar with seeing eye dogs, right? Well, seeing eye robots. Now, there wasn't much information in this video about its capabilities, but it got me thinking. Dogs are definitely splendid applications for this kind of function. But can you imagine a robot dog assisted with AI, which is going to be infinitely more capable? And of course, in the future, we may not need seeing eye dogs or robots because of Neuralink type functions where we can actually begin to recreate or repair broken senses. I want to thank everybody for joining us. As always, these are a lot of fun. We will see you next week.